Hello and welcome. My name is Erika. I am the coach success lead at Clayful. Essentially, my role is to train and manage our team of coaches and coach supervisors. And if you are new to Clayful, you don't know what we're about or what we do, I'll share more about that in a sec. I first just want to thank you all for coming, whether you're here live or you're catching the recording, for you to take time out of your day. And I know time is one of our most valuable resources. It really just means so much that you would choose to be here. And also thank you to those who submitted questions and requests ahead of time with your registration. So we're going to be answering as many as we can. And some of you asked in various ways, what are some quick and simple ways to help a student who is suffering with stress, anxiety, or frustration? And on our last webinar, last Wednesday, we shared so many ways to manage and prevent stress and the other emotions that come with stress. So if you didn't get to watch that, I highly recommend you check out the recording. And I'm going to walk us through another quick and simple tool that you can put in your back pocket and use with your children and young people when it feels right. So this is called the Five Senses tool, and we're going to start our gathering today by using it to help us bring our attention back to the present moment where we can think clearly and calmly, we can focus and be more in control, especially when stressed, anxious, or frustrated. Many of you are likely coming from other events. Maybe you are just doing all of the parenting things and your mind may be elsewhere. So I'm going to guide you through this so that, yeah, we can come into the present moment. This tool really helps to de-escalate any intense emotional responses and ground you in the physical world. So let's get started by, I invite you to find 5 things that you can see. So start to look around your room and your environment. You may even look behind you. It can be really calming to the nervous system to orient yourself to your entire space. And you might just count on your hand as you notice 5 different things around the room. All right, now 4 things that you can touch in your space, continuing to ground into our physical world. Notice different textures, maybe how your clothes feel on your skin, the different fabrics. Let's move on to the next sense, 3 things that you can hear. You might close your eyes if that helps you focus more, or you can keep them open. Notice 3 things you can hear. Likely my voice is one of them, and then I'll take a moment to be quiet. Now, 2 things that you can smell. What's your space smelling like? And then lastly, 1 thing you can taste. Maybe you have a drink right next to you or some water, take a hydration break. Awesome. Now notice if you feel a little bit different since before we did this activity. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but this is something that's super easy and you can bring into your life and your relationship with children to help them come back to the present moment, calm, come back into focus. All right, let's continue with our agenda today. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the content, I want to briefly share some more slides to introduce why Clayful is here partnering with caregivers of middle school and high school students across the country. So Clayful is a fierce organization with a big mission to end the youth mental health crisis. No small feat. And we really believe that thriving young people are not created alone in isolation. Rather, it takes a village to raise children, which I'm sure you all can resonate with. So this is why Clayful focuses on creating environments where well-being and community support is prioritized. Clayful is a partnership with schools at the heart of it. And by partnering with schools, we're able to create these environments where mental strength is proactive, it's accessible, it's part of daily life. And if you were at our last webinar, you likely heard me share a little bit of this spiel. But if you're new to Clayful and what we do, I'm so glad that you're here and learning more about us. You also may think of Clayful and our service as removing barriers to learning for children. Because if you can imagine, if a student's mind is clogged up with different thoughts and emotions, and they're sitting in their classroom seat trying to focus on what their teacher is saying, it's going to actually be really hard for them to be able to learn in that school environment. And y'all may have experienced this in your own lives as adults, in your jobs. For example, maybe you had a fight with your partner earlier in the day and you're still thinking about it while you're at your desk and it's getting in the way of your productivity. So this is why for students, Clayful provides on-demand access to certified coaches to help kids talk through and navigate any challenges, if it's in their relationships, if it's around academics, or just overall stressors of life. And as well, we don't stop with the students because we know that so many different aspects touch their lives. This is why we also expand to creating these supportive environments for families as well. And this webinar is an example of some of the tools that we provide to help families thrive as well. And we don't stop there, because of course, educators are part of this system as well in helping students learn and thrive in their lives. So we also provide coaching for teachers and staff so that they can show up with a full cup when they are in front of your students, helping them learn. So just like you, we want to help build smart, strong, responsible individuals, and it really requires this community of care. And together we can all help build stronger, healthier communities and really shape a brighter future for everyone. So this is why Clayful is partnering with the school that your child or children attends, and why we are offering this webinar series to really pour into your community and pour into you all as parents and caregivers. So just quickly, this is our webinar series at a glance. Last week we did everyday stress solutions. Today we're talking about how to get your teen to open up. And then you can see the next 2 weeks in this month, we have these other 2 topics. And in case you joined a little bit later, I'm going to drop this registration link in the chat box. If you have a friend who's a parent and you think they really need to hear all of this, you can send them that link. They can register and sign up real quick and join us today, or if they're busy, they will receive the recordings to all of these sessions. And if you're signed up for this one, you're signed up for all the rest. It's going to be every Wednesday at the same time for the next 2 weeks. So again, thanks for being here. So that is a little bit of what Clayful is about and what we do and our mission. And you see this chat snippet right here. I'm gonna give you a little bit more behind the scenes of what Clayful coaching actually looks like. So this is a real chat that happened between a student and a Clayful coach. So you can see the blue is the student's responses, the gray is the Clayful coach responses. And when young people open up to Clayful coaches, here are some examples of the things that they share. So in this example, this student is expressing feelings of loneliness, which I'm sure as we can all resonate with, as this Clayful coach also validated for them. I understand those feelings well. You're not alone. Here's another example. Young people come to chat about so many different things, and this one has a goal to make time for sports. Other topics that come up are building healthy habits, like being able to stick to a schedule. So important for teens at this age. They're navigating so much. Just give you a moment to read that. So you can see also these really creative ways and questions that we ask young people to engage them. And young people open up about real life things like grief, as well as relationships and academic pressures, which are our two most common chat topics. So this is an example of desires around relationships. And then here's an example around academic pressures. And of course, these are just snapshots of conversations. They go on and they have a deeper conversation about this. They come to a resolution. They identify a next step to help the young person move forward around their goals or issues. So this one they expressed, exams are in 2 weeks and I'm a little worried. So many young people, yeah, so many shares like that we get. So yes, this is a little bit about what Clayful looks like. And when we ask parents about their struggles and goals with their children, we hear it all the time. What do I do when my child doesn't say how they're doing? Or I get one-word answers when I ask, how was school? Who here has gotten a one-word answer this week? Like, fine, good, okay. Like, what are we supposed to do with that? And I really want to normalize this. You're not alone if that's your experience when communicating with your little one. Teens often pull away. It's a normal part of this stage of their development. And I mean, adults respond this way too. When I'm asked the question, how are you? It's kind of a tough question. It's like, do you actually care? Or are we just doing this as a formality? And most of us are trained to just say good, even if that's not really how we feel. So we can all relate to this, I'm sure. And I'm going to be sharing some different types of questions that you can ask your children that hopefully help you to get more than just fine as an answer. As well, I'm going to share some hacks to get your child or children to cooperate, listen to you, and open up more so that you can build trust and keep your family bonds strong. And we also got some questions and requests submitted ahead of time through when people registered. So, of different types of content like you'd like to see in these webinar series. So some of the ones that are relevant to today's topic that we got that we'll be sure to sprinkle in and cover are recognizing your own boundaries and limitations with triggering topics that come up when conversing with your children, as well as how to get your teen to tell you what their friends are telling them. So if there's anyone else in that boat who's interested in those topics, we'll cover some of that. And then on our future webinars in the next 2 weeks, we'll cover some other requests we got, like how to deal with lack of motivation and procrastination with your children, and how to spot and work with depression. And in case you didn't know, this webinar is going to be 60 minutes today. So we really hope you stick around to the end and receive all the goodies that we have for you all as parents. Okay, we are going to start to dive into what y'all came here for. And to start, I want to share a short video of what one of our clinical supervisors, Milena, shared in a recent Ask Me Anything session that we did with our Clayful coaching team for parents of teens. So she's one of our supervisors who oversees coaching chats that Clayful coaches have with young people to ensure that they stay safe and are just getting the highest quality of support. So let's press play on this.
I think what has helped me with curiosity is understanding curiosity does not have an agenda. Meaning, I'm not asking you these questions because I'm trying to get you to go to school. I'm asking you these questions because I genuinely want to understand how you feel. And I would say, even as a background of a therapist, of like really bringing in that union of parent and child, children really, the most important thing that they need is they need a secure attachment with a calm body parent. Meaning, I could tell you that I hate school and I don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm going to get yelled at for having this feeling, you know? And so I would even recommend to as parents, like, you know, recognize sometimes you're human as well too. You know, it might be triggering a bit or just really difficult to hear that your kid does not like school and they hate it and they don't want to go because you're thinking, I have to go to work. I can't stay here with them while they don't want to go to school. So I think it's also important to remember you're human as well too, and take a moment and breathe and gather yourself as well before you go into this conversation with them as well too.
So maybe some parents out there can resonate with that question that was asked. What if my child says they hate school and they don't want to go? There's so much that we could pull out in what Milena shared here, and we're going to continue to dissect it in the rest of this webinar. And there's two things that I really want to highlight. One is she said, curiosity does not have an agenda. And we're going to come back to that in a little bit when we get to questions that you can ask your children to help them engage more. Second thing I want to highlight is what she said. Children need a secure attachment with a calm-bodied parent. And this is kind of like a little bit of mental health jargon. So again, we're going to continue to dissect this in words and language that you hopefully can understand. And what I really want to share is what really has most kids not open up to their parents is a fear of the reaction or response that they might get from their parent towards what they share. So let's continue to unpack this. And let's talk about how we can create a space that invites open conversation. Consider this is where it starts, before you even say one word that comes out of your mouth. And this is important because we actually can't be in control of what our children say. We can't control whether they open up, whether they're honest or not. We also can't control if they tell us what their friends are saying to them I'm referencing someone's topic request that they shared when they registered there. But what we can be in control of is creating the environment that allows them to share freely and our reactions to what they share, which is this is part of creating this safe and open space. So remember, what has most kids not open up to their parents is fear of the reaction or response. They don't want to lecture, they don't want to be told that they're wrong, to be yelled at, dismissed, or maybe even ignored. So let's continue to dive into what Milena meant when she said children need a secure attachment with a calm-bodied parent so that you can create that open, safe space for conversation. And we're going to do this through giving you a preview to one of the life skills lessons that students learn when using Clayful in or outside of the classroom. They have the opportunity to choose from these different life lessons, and this one has to do with the nervous system. Or in young person slang, it's about picking up other people's vibes. So let's dive in. So these are a few slides I'm going to share of what young people learn about the nervous system. And what I want you to know as parents is your child's nervous system is wired to pick up on yours. In other words, your calm body teaches their nervous system safety or how to be calm before your words ever do. Put even more simply, calm is contagious. When you're calm, they're calm. When you're upset, they're upset. Calm is contagious, upset is contagious, fear is contagious. So, this is really important to recognize when wanting to create an open, safe space for conversation with your children so that they feel more comfortable and willing to open up. So before you even start conversing with your children, or even during the conversation or after the conversation, it can be helpful to notice, is your nervous system regulated? And what this really means is, do you feel calm? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel comfortable? Any of these words that you see on the right here can be signs that, hey, I'm feeling calm and relaxed. My nervous system is regulated. Or on the contrary, is your nervous system dysregulated? Often when we yell in conversation or shut down or get really short and snippy or react in ways that might not be helpful, those are signs that our nervous system may be dysregulated. So the parent who mentioned, like, how do we recognize our own boundaries and limitations with triggering topics? This is where it comes in. If you notice that you get emotional, stressed, or shut down when certain topics come up in conversation with your children or your spouse or any other human in the world, if you're noticing that, you may need to bring extra presence to your nervous system when engaging in those conversations. And the good news is that we can actually shift our nervous system in simple ways that help to create that calm, contagious environment. So we're going to try these together. So in this moment, if you're able to, I invite you to actually feel this in your own body. So we're going to go through these different steps that you can actually do before you have conversations with your children. So let's start with planting your feet, getting them on the ground, feeling your toes against the floor, your heel against the floor. Now relax your shoulders. Drop the tongue from the roof of your mouth. And relax the rest of your face. In an actual conversation, you might lower your voice, slow it down. I'm really exaggerating here, but this is an example of it. And also in this moment, you might look away from the screen. Oftentimes, technology can have us be a little dysregulated. So as I continue to share, you might just give your eyes a break from looking at the screen as you continue to feel relaxed in your body. And start to breathe out. Exhale twice as long as when you breathe in. You might breathe in for 3 counts Exhale for 6 counts. And if you don't like to count when you breathe, you don't have to. Just breathe in a way that feels good to you, that feels deep and spacious. And now start to notice how you feel. You might feel a bit calmer, depending on how busy and stressful your day was before this. It may take a little bit longer to find relaxation. That's okay. Even if you're feeling 1% more relaxed, that is a sign of your nervous system becoming more regulated. So, this list of 5 things on the screen here, put them in your back pocket. Do these before conversations or even during conversations to remain calm. And notice if it changes the environment for conversation and allows your child to start opening up more when you converse with them from this calm nervous system. And as I continue to share more tips, I really invite you to start thinking practically about all of this in a way where you can put these tips into action in your life. And thinking about, where do conversations typically happen for you and your family? Where and when? Oftentimes it's when you get home from work, you reconnect. Maybe you pick up your child from school or an after school activity and you're talking in the car. Or maybe there's other family activities that you do together. So the next tip I'm going to share is called a reuniting ritual, because research shows the first moments of reuniting set the tone for the rest of the evening. And a reuniting ritual can help create a routine of connection, of stability, of predictability in your home, which are all things that often make the nervous system feel more safe, and thus is going to make it easier for your children to open up for conversation. Even, and this doesn't have to take a long time, even a 2-minute connection or reuniting ritual can help shift everyone's nervous system towards calm. And I really highly encourage you to make it super simple so that it's actually doable and accessible for you. So when you get home from work, or maybe when you pick up your child from school or practice, here are just some ideas and examples of what this could look like for you. Making eye contact with the person when you first meet. Maybe you offer them a hug or a fist bump, maybe a high five or a handshake, whatever you typically do in your family. Everyone's going to be different. Maybe there's a phrase that you say, like, I missed you today, or I'm glad we're back together, or hey, welcome back, or what's up, kid? Whatever feels most natural for you. And do these simple reuniting rituals, simple connection points, before you ask any questions or try to start any conversation to get them to open up. These small shifts really tells your family, your children, I'm here with you. I'm present. I care about you. We matter more than my stress, my to-dos, my distractions. These small shifts help to communicate that without having to actually say those words, because they're felt, because our nervous systems are wired to resonate with each other. So I shared some examples there. Maybe those ideas don't feel authentic to your family. Maybe your family doesn't say words like, I missed you, or doesn't give hugs. That's okay. But I do want you to think about what would work for your family. What could be a reuniting ritual for you? So pause for a moment to really let you think about that. And you might write something down. If there's anything you want to take from this webinar, I highly encourage you to write it down because that's just going to help you to actually put it into action more. Every family is going to have their own thing that works for you. There's no one size fits all with this. So hopefully you were able to identify at least one thing. If you need a little bit more time, you might just jot down the question to think on it later. And we will continue. So I don't know if y'all have ever tried to sit your teen down and say, we need to talk. And they kind of instantly like shut down, get really quiet. But then out of nowhere, they'll start opening up when you're doing something that's side by side. Like maybe when you're driving, maybe you're cooking together, folding laundry. So this is called parallel play. It's really a fancy term for doing something side by side instead of face to face. So think about cooking together, playing cards, doing chores, shooting hoops, or working on a project at the same table, even if you may be doing different activities. So for younger kids, parallel play is how they learn to be around others without needing to share every toy or be doing the exact same thing. And for teenagers, it serves a similar purpose. Parallel play, it lets them be with you without feeling the pressure to talk. And why this works is because it takes that pressure off. You know, when you're sitting next to each other, looking at each other, that eye contact can feel kind of intense or awkward for teens, especially when you're talking about feelings. But when you're both focused on something else, maybe using your hands, but you're still together, their guard can come down. And it creates this natural opening for conversation, especially when there may be some quiet moments while you're doing your activities. It invites these casual comments or questions that can then lead into deeper conversations. And again, it's really just providing that presence like, hey, I'm here for you if you do want to talk, but not forcing anything. So, again, here's an opportunity for you to think practically how this can work in your life with your family. So, you might think of where do these types of activities naturally come up with your family? Maybe you're a family that cooks together, maybe not. Maybe you're a family that shoots hoops together, maybe not. What's going to be your activities? And this likely already happens in your family dynamic, but you may have just not been present to it or aware of it. And now, knowing this, as you notice, hey, we're doing some parallel play right now, you might just bring some extra attention to those natural openings for conversation. Okay, we're now going to hear another tip, this time from one of our Clayful coaches, Donna, who is also a parent of two children. Let's hear what she has to say.
Not sort of focusing only on school and only on what happened in homework and how did the test go. I found that actually getting interested in other things that they really love, like even gaming, and just saying, how does that work? Can I watch you play? And they love it. They open up, and it's a really great way also to kind of get them to soften, like Erika said, and be more open to talk about other, their feelings and other things later.
So essentially, what Donna is saying here is get interested in what they're interested in. And she uses the example with gaming, which I think is so funny because I think a lot of parents have some judgments around gaming. So when you're getting interested in what they're interested in, whether it's gaming or not, try your best to hold any judgments you might have about that thing. Like if you think gaming is stupid and a waste of time, that may creep into the conversation when you're asking them questions. So really bite your tongue there and focus on asking questions and listening versus inputting your opinion or your advice or what you think they should do. And remember what our clinical supervisor Milena shared in the first video. Curiosity does not have an agenda. So, for example, if we stick with the gaming, if your agenda is to get them to realize that gaming is a waste of time and that's why they are procrastinating on their homework, that's your agenda. And you're no longer focused on them and their interests because you're focused on what you want. So, get interested in what they're interested in, but remember, curiosity does not have an agenda. Okay. And speaking of what you want as a parent, this is another common phenomenon that I definitely experienced when I was a teenager, and I imagine is really common in other homes. When you get home from work or whatever it is, it may be tempting for you to jump into reminders. Did you finish your homework? Did you clean out the dishwasher? Why are your shoes in the hallway? Wash your hands before dinner. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Maybe this happens in your home, maybe it doesn't. So my next tip is before you correct, connect. What this can look like is asking one non-task question, like, how was that thing today? Did anything weird or fun happen? Non-task question. Did you finish your homework is a task question. You're wanting them to do something. And when you ask them this question, mirror back what you hear. This really shows that you're listening to them, that you're present with them, which again creates a safe, open environment for conversation. So this examples of what this sounds like is it sounds like, and then you repeat a version of what they said. Or, so you're saying your best friend wasn't at lunch today and that made you feel really alone. Or, I hear that you felt really alone and awkward that your best friend wasn't at lunch today, as an example. And then wait 5 minutes before bringing up any to-dos, any tasks that you want them to do, anything you want to correct for them. And what you can do in that 5 minutes is use that time to do some of the nervous system strategies that I shared earlier. Relaxing your shoulders, looking away from screens, feeling your feet on the ground, relaxing your tongue from the roof of your mouth, taking some deep breaths. And I also want to share that you're not always going to do this perfectly. Sometimes we got to get things done. That's your right as a parent. I'm not telling you how to parent here. And we're not always going to do things perfectly or how we want to. And all of this is an invitation to try it out and to see how it shifts dynamics in conversation with your family. Consider that this type of connection builds cooperation because it builds trust. That your children can trust. They're going to listen to me. They don't just want me to do what my mom wants me to do. So again, a moment to reflect. What's one pattern you can shift to connect before you correct? So if you have a pattern of reminding them to do their homework right when you get home, can you wait 5 minutes before you give them that reminder, focusing on connection first? Give y'all a moment to reflect on what that might look like for you. All right, now we're going to do a quick review of the strategies that we've learned so far. If there's any you want to write down to continue to practice, now may be the time to do that. We talked about regulating your nervous system, reuniting rituals, parallel play, getting interested in what they're interested in, and connecting before you correct. All right, now for what you may be waiting for. So a lot of parents, like a super common question they ask is, how was school? And I invite y'all to skip that question for a week and instead ask a question that allows your child to share a moment. So children remember and share moments rather than summaries or reports of their day. So notice how some of these questions really invite them to share a moment in time that happened. What's something that made you laugh today? And then gives you an insight into what they think is funny or what they might be interested in. Or what's something you wish didn't happen today? It can give you an insight into something they may struggle with. So asking questions that help them share a moment. And a lot of these questions are some that Clayful coaches use in chats with young people to help engage them. Notice how they're open-ended, so they don't allow them to share just one word. Because as soon as they share just fine, good, or bad, it's like, okay, what are we supposed to do with that? So rather, these questions have them to prompt them to share more. These are also some questions that some of our Clayful coaches who are parents actually use with their children. Like this last one, if they do share a one-word answer, like it was good, a way you can continue to prompt is asking, okay, what was so good about it? Or what was so cool about it? So I invite y'all to choose 1 to 3 questions that you can stick in your back pocket that you can practice asking your child this week. And you can also come up with your own, playing on some of the inspiration here. Another strategy that can be helpful is sharing your own responses to these questions, because then you're modeling how to open up, share about your thoughts, your feelings, your day, and it models to your children that it's normal to do that and that they can always share what's on their mind with you as well. And one thing we train our coaches to not do is not to ask questions that start with why. Because often when you ask someone, why did you do that? Or why are you thinking about it that way? It can oftentimes put the person on the defensive. It can make them feel like they need to justify themselves or explain themselves. It sometimes can feel like a critical, like an attack in a way, even if that's not our intention. So it can be a great skill to reword those in a different way. Like, how are you thinking about that? Or how come you chose to do it this way? It softens it a little bit more. Okay, and I just want to share like some greater context. Like, I imagine this is just a guess. I don't have to be right about it, but a lot of times parents, you may be you may want your children to open up because you want to ensure that they're okay. You want to check in on them and you want to be able to offer help or support where it's due. And this is why we check in on people, especially if your child is particularly struggling. We want to be able to catch these things before it gets too far down the line. So one of you asked us to cover some information on spotting and supporting depression signs. So consider this whole conversation today is like it's a first step to that. Once we're able to create safe, open spaces for children to open up, we're able to check in on them and to notice maybe these signs that something more serious may be happening with them. So I invite y'all to join our next webinars where we'll be sharing more information like that, as well as covering how to support your children through lack of motivation and procrastination that can show up in different seasons of our lives. So especially in this last webinar of staying sane through the seasonal shifts and holiday stress. Oftentimes in the winter months, we can feel a bit more low and it can change our behavior. So we'll be talking more about that. Although next week, the topic is raising teens in the age of AI and social media, definitely a hot topic right now. So you're already signed up for those, and we welcome you to come to the rest or catch the recording at the end. And we're not quite done yet today, but I do want to pause and invite you to give some feedback on what we have shared today in this webinar thus far. So this is a QR code. If you have a mobile device, you can grab this feedback link through the QR code and take like 3 to 5 minutes to fill out that feedback. So I'll just pause for a moment to ensure that you all can grab that link. Let me see if I can also get you a direct link to it in case you don't have another device for the QR code. All right, I'm dropping this feedback form in the chat box right now on Zoom. So you should be able to open that up and fill it out that way if that's better for you. And if you want to just grab the link and fill it out later, that works. We're also going to follow up in an email with any resources or links that we shared today. So you'll be able to find that link then if you'd like to fill it out later. And with the rest of our time, I want to share some free offerings that we have for caregivers. Remember, my intention I shared in the beginning is that we really want to pour into caregivers because we recognize it takes a village, it takes a community to really support young people and to be able to thrive in their lives. Part of this is supporting parents who support the young people. So if you attended last week's webinar, the stuff I'm about to go through, you likely already saw that. So feel free to, see it the second time, or if you want to go on with your evening from here, I thank you for coming. And for anyone who is new to these, I want to introduce what we have Clayful for caregivers. So those chat examples that you saw in the beginning of this webinar, you actually can chat with Clayful coaches in the same way. And if that feels like kind of a jump right now, or you don't know if you want to do that, I'm going to share an easier way you can start to benefit from the life coaching support that Clayful provides. So you can either chat with a Clayful coach, or you can join our 4-week coaching program. It's called the Back to School Reset, because we recognize that the back to school season is busy. There's new routines. It really sets the stage for the year ahead. So this is why we designed this program with caregivers in mind. And it's a really easy and accessible way to start benefiting from some of this support, because you don't have to sign up for any appointments or book anything. It's super easy to commit and start gaining more control over your life. So as you can see on this screen, here are some things that you get. It's a daily text for 4 weeks with a little tip or strategy that's really practical that you can try for that day. And you also do have opportunities to chat with a coach one-on-one if you choose, but you definitely don't have to. And here's a little bit more of a sneak peek into the program and the different things that it covers. So again, you get a daily text with some of these different tips. I'm going to drop this link into the chat box as well if you want to sign up now or later, or at least just check it out on a deeper level. This also allows you to experience what your child experiences with Clayful when they use it in the classroom. And here's just that link again. And then if you are interested in actually getting that one-on-one support with a real human on the other side who's listening to you, who's validating you, who's also holding you accountable to the things that you say that you want, the changes you want to make in your life, and helping you to resolve any issues that may be blocking you, you can go to this link, and there's just a little sign up process that you'll go through, and then from there you'll be able to chat with a coach during our coaching hours, which are 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And there is the link in the chat again. And we're also following up with all these links in an email, as I shared earlier, in case you're not able to grab them now. And then we do have an ask here. So for anyone who has a child who is under 13 years old, they actually need consent to use Clayful and to chat with a coach. So if you haven't already given your child consent to chat with a coach, we would so appreciate if you could take a moment to do that right now. Additionally, if you live in California, your child's school can actually get reimbursed for using this wellness service, for using Clayful through Medi-Cal. So we also collect insurance for this reason. So you can use this same exact consent link here, and it'll ask you what school your child attends. And if it is a California school, it'll automatically direct you to also provide some insurance information. And again, it allows their school to receive money for using this service, which is super cool because we know schools are chronically underfunded, which is such a shame. And then the last thing I'm going to show y'all is similar to the back to school reset 4-week program that sends you a daily text that I shared. But these two programs are for your children to take. So it's the same way. It sends them a daily text or an email if they don't have a phone for 4 weeks around a specific topic. So the one on the left is to help young people manage their stress levels, especially in testing season coming up. This is really relevant, and it can be applied to so many areas in life because stress comes up in relationships too. So I will drop this link in the chat as well. So there's going to be a direct link where they can sign up for the program. And then the one below that is a link to our blog, which just shares more details about the program if you want to take a deeper look as far as what content is inside it. And then on that blog, it has resources for you to help your child sign up for it if you desire and if you believe it would be helpful for them. And then this program on the right is specifically for students who are naturally really creative or they want to work on expressing themselves more with confidence, without perfectionism, without overthinking, without holding their beautiful, brilliant ideas back. So imagine if your teenager could build this confidence at this stage of their life, the stage where we feel the most awkward and insecure. What if they could transform that into confidence to express themselves and then carry that into their later years and into their adulthood as well? So, if your child is particularly creative, they may enjoy this program. So this just shows you that coaching can be applied to so many different areas of life. We also have a program for athletes. So yeah, it really applies to relationships, creativity, stress, athletics, academics, overall well-being, and healthy habits. All these different buckets of life can be supported through Clayful coaching. And that is all I have for you all today. Thank you so much for coming. We did well on time, just 2 minutes until the hour. Again, I really appreciate if y'all would take some moments to give some feedback. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat one more time and bring us back to that slide in case you weren't able to grab this. Really, our feedback helps us serve you all and your children better. So share all the honest thoughts and ideas that you have, and we read every single one and use it to improve. I'll hang out for just a couple of minutes to let y'all grab any of these links in the chat box. But if you feel satisfied with your time here and you got everything that you need, feel free to go on with your evening, and hope that you have a great rest of your week.